So I had a double-digit state rank. I set the spot with my mom, and I'm like, fine. There's no specific textbook or study resource for step 2. Like internally, I had discovered finally what works the best for me.
Okay. I just want to know what was the rough estimated cost for your entire 2-year journey.
And it costs around.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Pluripotent podcast where I take you through the journeys of extraordinary people, especially the people that I know of. And today we have with us one such amazing personality. This is Rashi ma'am. She's from GMC Nagpur and she's my senior. She recently cleared USMLE Step 2 and I have brought her here for all of you guys who are interested for USMLE preparation. She has done the journey herself. She knows everything and she'll tell us about how her journey was, what was her timeline, and it will really help you, understand how to approach it if you are like completely new to it, like I was a few years ago. So I hope this video clears a lot of information or a lot of doubts that you had. So hi ma'am, I welcome you to this episode.
Hi.
I would love to, I would love to ask you a little bit about yourself to tell to the viewers.
Hi Anuj, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
It's so nice to meet you.
Yeah.
And meet you here.
Yeah.
But I'm very happy to be here and I'm very happy to be sharing my journey. I recently gave my step 2, cleared it, and now I'm going to be applying for residency.
Oh wow.
So I'm here to talk a little bit about my journey and I hope this helps.
Amazing. So you're my senior. Which batch are you from?
I am from 2016 batch GMC Nagpur.
Okay, 2016. How was your experience in GMC first year? So like a final tak ke internship, all of that.
Badhiya, I would say. Yeah. So GMC was always my dream college growing up. I wanted to, like when I was in there, I'm like, I'm going to graduate from GMC Nagpur. So getting into GMC, I was super happy, very looking forward to it. First year, to aise chala gaya because just NEET hui thi. Then there were obviously the subjects which I thought nobody prepares you for how vast the subjects in first year are. I think, like you said, I think you said this, that the syllabus in anatomy is itself bigger
than the NEET UG syllabus.
And like I just came out of NEET and I'm like, oh my god, is this going to be my life? Okay. But then that's that. And then second year rolled around. Beginning again, it was a little chill to begin with, but then there was the pharma quiz that I took part in. Great experience. We ended up winning it in the last round. Super thrilling. Still get goosebumps talking about it.
So I remember, I think, who were your teammates during that round?
It was Shantanu Ambulkar and Pragati Joshi.
Okay. So I know both of these people. So speaking more about like your experience with respect to NEET UG at your time in 2016, what was your All India rank?
So we actually had MHCET during our time, and like our batch was the last batch that gave
right.
CET.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I had a double-digit state rank, and in addition to that, I had a state rank of 1 in my 12th boards.
Oh wow! Congratulations, yaar. You're so intelligent. you might have studied for 12th boards, I guess, a lot, right?
Primarily studying for the entrance. And I'll tell you a little story. So towards the board exams around, I think, November, my mom is like, now boards are approaching, so you have to start preparing for your boards. Now you have to keep this aside for a little bit. And I'm like, kuch bhi, like I'm not going to prepare for boards. It's okay even if I get a 75%. I set the spot with my mom and I'm like, fine. And then the day of the result, my mom is like, you fought with me over this.
Exactly. So I think that is very relatable if you are studying for competitive exam. Then your basics are so clear that boards becomes very easy for you.
Yes.
And now you have also cleared your MBBS and also USMLE. So a lot of exams, hundreds of exams, I would say.
Yes, too many exams.
Definitely. So talking more about, I would like to know what was your timeline with respect to your USMLE. Like, tell us from NEET UG, like what was your timeline till 2023 today?
Okay. So 2016, I joined MBBS. In the beginning, I wasn't very sure of what I was going to pursue. But I always had this little thing that, like I want to go to America. I had this American dream. So, but that sort of like got pushed to the side in the beginning of the MBBS. Like I was just focusing on the MBBS itself. Then towards I think the third year, I started to think about what I wanted to pursue. Till then, I was preparing for the NEET. Attended the classes, studied, did the MCQs. The things that everybody usually does.
Yeah.
After that, during like the third year, I said started thinking a little bit about what I wanted to do, and it is when I realized that the decision of pursuing USMLE or NEET isn't just an exam decision that I'm taking. It is a life decision. Yeah. So and I think I was very naive in that phase where I was just thinking about like it's an exam. But then I started thinking about what is the kind of life I want or the training I want, especially in residency and fellowship.
Yeah.
So I was completely clueless. Did not know who to reach out to, but again, like reached out to a few people who've been very, very nice to me. Had great mentors who had their timelines in front of me. I spent a good 6 months, just getting to know about how the process is like.
Okay. So definitely that means that there is a gap that is present. It takes that long to know how the process is going to be.
Yes.
It's not that streamlined. You can go and read it in 2 weeks and be over with it.
No. I think for around 6 months, I would just wake up and just read about USMLE. I watched every single video there was on YouTube. I talked to every person that was remotely associated with me doing this. So, and I think then I just got to know a little bit. I would say the tip of the iceberg of how the journey was looking like. And then I also it was a lot of introspection that also went into it on what I wanted. So then I felt like that was a very good fit for me. And this was, by this time it happened, it was already final year.
Okay, definitely.
Yeah. And then in final year, it was a decision that, okay, so am I going to start my prep or then focus on the final year? And then I chose the later because it is a massive task. I think you've done it recently and
definitely.
you know. So I focused on my final year, passed it, and immediately after I passed it, this was also in the middle of the COVID.
Okay.
So around 2020. So around 2020, then I decided that I'm going to do USMLE, then prepare for my step 1. Preparation started once I passed MBBS and started internship.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, like my timeline definitely is not ideal.
No, so this is your journey. It is not, I'm not saying it's ideal or it's the way to, it's your journey. So it's, you did it, so I think it works and you are sharing your journey. And I think the viewers are already, getting to relate to you, because like you said, USMLE in third year you had a little bit idea what you had to do. So even I myself was considering okay, shall I give this exam, go to US or whatever, but at that time we are so immature, we don't know what our life choices are, hame kya karna hai aage. We are not at all aware. I think that when a person does internship, I think that is when we become the most aware ki what we are reading, how it actually translates to real life and what kind of a life you want in the future. So in third year only that you had that little bit of clarity, okay, maybe you want to go in this direction. I know a lot of my batchmates who are still up and down with it, karna hai nahi karna hai, but yaar wahi hai ki once internship starts, everybody goes into the race ki NEET PG, and still during that phase you standing out as different ki okay, not NEET PG, I will go for USMLE, especially being from my college, our college. I know the definite scenario what is happening. Most people are not even studying for NEET PG. So the few people who are good batchmates of yours, the close friends of yours. So it definitely is a very big decision, and I think that the support from your parents or relatives that you might have gotten also plays a good part in it, right? Because without parent support, I don't think that we can take such major decisions ki I want to go to America or I want to go to Europe to study. Yeah,
exactly. Like I would want to add on to this that when you are venturing into this unknown territory, especially because in our college we don't have this culture. So my parents knew very few people who have done this, and I don't have family in the US. So it was just like NEET is such a known thing that okay, everybody is doing it. It's so easy to pick that.
Right.
And I think most of the time parents are apprehensive because they also don't know. And it comes from this like very protective instinct. So my parents also had the same doubts. Also because I lived in Nagpur for my MBBS with my parents.
Exactly.
So it is like two leaps. कि ऐसे नहीं कि नागपुर से बाहर जाना है ना, तुम तो इतना दूर दूसरे कॉन्टिनेंट
मुंबई नहीं, मुंबई से अमेरिका.
हाँ, तो obviously like very like I think a very Indian parent concern कि कैसे, but I think once they saw that I had such clarity on why I wanted to do it, और मैंने उनको ऐसे proper presentation जैसे दिया है कि you know अब ये मेरा first step होगा, ये मेरा second step होगा, फिर ये करना है, फिर वो करना है, and these are my options and why I want to do this. So once they had this sort of you know वो trust build हुआ
Okay.
कि why,
So even they were not aware कि what is the pattern of the exam or how to approach it. So I think you basically provided them with this education कि okay I can do this and this is how it's done and people are doing it. So then they agreed.
Yes.
But still it's a big thing कि like a lot of the times parents are like कि यार मेरा बच्चा जाना नहीं चाहिए ज़्यादा दूर, और ऐसा बोलते हैं कि मतलब तुमको भी बोला होगा ना कि एक बार अमेरिका चले गए तो वापस नहीं आते हैं, बट इट्स ओके, ये तुम्हारी लाइफ है, यू आर हियर टू लिव इट, ओके, इट्स नॉट समबody else's life.
No, they were very supportive of this because they always saw that you know that I was this little girl with this dream, you know मुझे अमेरिका ही जाना है. तो once they saw it they're like you know like you won't be happy anywhere else, like this is your thing, this is your calling, and you would regret it if you don't pursue it now. So I think that really played role in instilling that sort of confidence in me, especially because there are in a batch of 200 there's like a couple of people doing USMLE.
Exactly.
So you need that backing from your parents, and I also had very supportive friends.
Okay.
They were not pursuing USMLE but just them saying you know I think you can do it. You know करके तो देख.
Definitely.
तो
friends play a big part in your entire journey, especially in MBBS, because I don't look back upon ki my UG days and think okay these are the lectures which I did or these are the classes which I enjoyed or wow this was such a beautiful dissection. I just look back and बस वो जो टाइम पास और चकल्लस था क्लास में बैठ के वही
जो लेक्चर नहीं किया वही याद आता है ना.
एग्जैक्टली
और जो लेक्चर में डांट पड़ी थी
वही
जो लेक्चर में बाहर किया था.
एग्जैक्टली स्पेशली वी हैड लेक्चर्स ऑफ बायोस्टैटिस्टिक्स इन थर्ड ईयर. कुछ नहीं समझता था क्या पढ़ा रहे हैं, तो उस समय वी यूज्ड टू प्ले टिक टैक टो और बिंगो पीछे बैठ के, और हम पकड़े भी गए थे एक बार, सर ने पकड़ लिया था, तो वही सब याद आता है. तो आई एम वेरी हैप्पी दैट यू हैड सपोर्टिव फ्रेंड्स. अ लॉट ऑफ द टाइम दैट इज ऑल्सो लैकिंग. सो अ लॉट ऑफ एस्पिरेंट्स आई फील लाइक जैसे नागपुर इज अ वेरी आई वुड से proper urban place in Nagpur. But if somebody is from a bit of the rural area in a peripheral government medical college, वहाँ पे तो it might be very difficult to just understand कि this is possible, this is doable. You might have seen a few seniors from our college itself and you might have talked to them as well. So that also inspired you. That is great. So you did step 1 when? After internship?
Yeah, towards the end of my internship.
End of. So which month?
So our internship started a little bit later than usual. So I think it was in April or May.
Okay.
Of last year.
Of last year.
Yeah. So I'll tell you a little bit more. Ki when you pursue USMLE, because we practice in a very different environment, right? So it is very important as an applicant to have this US clinical experience, so that they also know that you can blend in the system.
Right.
And you also know that you know the system is right for
you. Yeah.
Like before you commit to a 3-year residency or 5-year residency, I think it's such a nice experience. So I went for about 4 months to US.
Okay.
As an international visiting medical student.
Okay.
I was still a student when they came back. I had a great experience, and then immediately started preparing for my step 2.
Okay.
And then it takes about 6-7 months to prepare for step 2. And I gave my step 2 this year, like this summer.
This summer, okay.
Yeah.
When was the date for that?
I gave step 2 in beginning of June.
Okay.
So beginning of June 2023.
So in 1 year you basically completed your both step 1 and step 2.
Yes.
That is a big milestone because people take so many attempts and all of this for completion of this thing. But so nice.
It gives you the liberty, right?
And you also did that thing in USA, the 4-month clinical exposure
So
thing.
basically, I think in a span of almost a year, I completed almost everything that was to be done towards USMLE.
Right. Do you also have to take like IELTS or OATs for this thing, USMLE?
Yes. So I took TOEFL initially. I took TOEFL in my internship.
Okay.
And that was a time when I was applying for electives.
Okay.
Because electives need you to be proficient in English, and we had to give TOEFL and get above a set grade. It was fairly simple. I think अपने को जम ही जाता है. तो वो तो मैंने इसे 1 हफ्ते की prep पे दे दिया.
अच्छा.
और उसका score, and then you need to apply to electives. Now that is one thing. Other than this, there's OET. similar exam, but that is just based on medicine, like OET
Acha.
for medicine.
Okay.
And that is one part of your USMLE process.
Acha. So it's pretty much compulsory.
Yeah, OET is compulsory.
Okay.
You will have to give OET and get above a set grade. Again, relatively simple.
Simpler. Okay. So talking more about your step 1 journey. Okay. So internship ke end pe you had very good idea and you were also studying pretty hard, I guess, for step 1. So like how was your study schedule? Which month did you actually start studying for step 1, especially with respect to internship? And if you could also highlight like what postings and all were at that point, because I know like studying with postings is a bit difficult because that is what I am going through right now. So step 1 and like tell us how you did it.
So, like step 1 ideally can be done in like 4 to 6 months if you have nothing else on your hands. But with internship, I feel like it becomes a little more long run. क्योंकि एक दिन में उतना टाइम नहीं मिल पाता ना कि तुम डेडिकेटेड उतने आवर्स तो और उतना टाइम लगता है. स्पेशली बिकॉज मैंने अराउंड इंटर्नशिप के टाइम दिया था तो वो लाइक फर्स्ट और सेकेंड ईयर की नॉलेज थोड़ी सी
वीक हो गई,
फेड हो गई थी. तो वो अगेन आई हैड टू कैच अप अ लिटिल बिट, बट स्टिल एक स्ट्रॉन्ग नॉलेज बेस बन गया था. So I think that was definitely a plus point. I consider it a plus point that I had already studied like final year तक का, तो clinical base भी बहुत strong हो गया.
Right.
So step 1 के लिए the main resource is solving UWorld. It is a question bank, and I pretty much went ahead with that. It is a gold standard. It is very extensive. There are like 4,000 questions, and I know 4,000 doesn't seem like that big a number, but the questions are pretty big. The question stems in itself, and then how you go about solving UWorld is you do your questions, and then they have very very detailed explanations. So there's like not one specific book where you can like इसमें से पूरा पढ़ा तो step 1 का होगा. You do your first and second year pretty well. Then there's first aid, which is a book but it's not a textbook.
It's notes.
हाँ, it's notes. तो वो बस रिवाइज करने के लिए अच्छा है कि freshen up revisions, quick revisions. But ultimately UWorld was my main study resource. And I did questions from day one.
Okay.
Like no studying or maybe a little bit of studying. क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करो, उसके एक्सप्लेनेशंस पढ़ो. जो मुझे लग रहा है कि मुझे नहीं आ रहा है, क्वेश्चन गलत हो गया, I would put them in my notes.
Okay.
I made one notebook.
अच्छा.
And then I would just note down any questions that I didn't know. And another thing कि image based questions के लिए then I made flashcards.
अच्छा. Okay.
उन्हीं के ऐप में.
Okay.
Which मुझे लगा that was super helpful and this was my first time doing it actually.
Okay.
तो I was a pretty conventional पढ़ाई कर जैसे सब लोग करते हैं कि बुक पढ़ लो, हाईलाइट कर लो, नोट्स बना लो. So that's how I was
approaching
studies initially. So initially my scores were not going up that much, and I saw it was pretty like stagnant. Then I'm like, okay, where am I going wrong? Then I again like approached a few people. Then I'm like, okay, no, this I'm not put. ऐसा नहीं हो रहा है कि मेरे से effort कम हो रहा है. I need to like change the strategy.
Right.
Then when I started focusing on doing more and more questions, एक बार बिना टाइम के फिर थोड़ा टाइम बाद I started time. So once the time pressure is put, again my accuracy and my time and everything I had to balance. I thought that worked very very well, and by the time I had solved all the questions, I had such confidence कि अगर नहीं भी आ रहा है सवाल तो
you can narrow down.
Yeah, I can narrow down. और USMLE में तो ऐसा भी नहीं कि 4 ही options होते हैं. They have like sometimes 8 options also.
Oh my god.
So it is pretty, but then you have to develop that technique, and I think just by doing it, I developed that technique.
Okay.
Essentially.
Okay. So UWorld was your main source, and your flashcards helped you. Solving questions helped you a lot.
Yes.
And changing your strategy and identifying where you were going wrong at the right point. I think that was I think we can also apply this directly for NEET PG as well.
Yes,
if
exactly.
you think. Okay. So my current preparation for NEET PG is exactly what you are talking about. Ki if I feel like I don't have the time, like I'm sitting in the posting, I don't have time to open my notes, and because every 2-3 minutes somebody is going to come. So I'm sitting there solving custom modules. I'm also probably explaining the questions to my batchmates who are sitting next to me. And at my home, when I have the luxury of time, I can sit and read whatever I want to and build up the concepts. So like this week, I'm currently doing Pharmac. So in the morning, I was solving custom modules for pharmacology, and now I'm doing that. So I think that for NEET PG also it directly applies what you are saying.
Exactly the same strategy.
Okay.
Yeah, कि छोटा कम time है तो फटाफट flashcards revise कर लो, questions देख लो, and the notes that like I made, again I could revise them pretty quickly.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
I could,
definitely.
yeah,
The notes that we make for ourselves,
Yes.
they are like the super, super duper ऐसे फट
yes,
से रिवाइज हो जाते हैं.
वो अपने लिखे हुए होते हैं ना, तो अपनी हैंडराइटिंग एग्जाम में याद आती
अपने
है.
mnemonics, अपनी
हाँ, अपने
handwriting.
mnemonics या अपने जो सीक्वेंस में लिखा था, even if it's not written, I feel even if it's on the computer,
हाँ.
if it's yours, you're like more likely to
Remember it. Definitely. So your USMLE preparation started in almost, I would say, mid internship, right?
Yeah.
And then you gave the exam. So how was your exam day experience, and where was the exam? Like, tell us a little bit about that.
So I want to go over the logistics of USMLE first. It is a computer-based MCQ exam. 8 hours का होता है, and there are 280 multiple choice questions. 7 hours is the test time. 15 minutes का एक ट्यूटोरियल होता है on how to navigate exam day पे, like उनका सॉफ्टवेयर कैसे यूज करना है, and 45 minutes is your break time.
Okay.
That you can take any time in between two blocks.
Okay, in between two blocks.
Like एक बार if you start solving a block, you cannot take a break, and it is up to you. If you want to like 5 minutes के लेने या 10 minutes का, so that is the whole exam का setup.
Yeah.
On exam day, the biggest issue that I think I face and everybody would face is that we are brought up in a system like you and I, is 3-hour exams.
Right.
And I remember that in 12th, and MBBS exams are even shorter.
They are like 2 hours long.
Yeah. So, and I remember 11th, 12th, mein, all our practice was just based on, having our focus for 3 hours. So that our accuracy is not down. Like first minute to last minute, you have to be just as
100%.
accurate.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was something that we are brought up with. And suddenly giving an 8-hour exam, I think that is a very big mental block. But it takes that consistency, because I had already been doing that for like 6 months.
Right.
That question solve करो और पहला क्वेश्चन और आखिरी क्वेश्चन सेम एक्यूरेसी से होना चाहिए, तुम बोर नहीं होने चाहिए. Which I initially like used to be like end में हो जाता है ऐसे. But I think that was something that consistency of my preparation sort of took away.
Okay.
So I was not nervous about the fact that if I could focus for 8 hours.
Okay.
Went in pretty confident only. Exam एक बार शुरू होता है, you forget everything. You forget all your anxiety, everything. It's you and the question.
Exactly. That's what happens in almost all exams.
Yes.
We sit down and then nobody will disturb us.
Yeah. I think before going in, the anxiety is
peak.
Once you go in, it's nothing.
Exactly.
I came back, I'm like,
oh yeah.
हो गया. हो गया. So it is a feeling of relief more than like a sense of achievement sometimes.
Right.
So that was my step 1, and I'll tell you it was very different for my step 2.
Acha.
So test day, okay, I pretty much survived on like protein bars and like 2 bananas, because 8 hours,
8
right?
hours,
And you have to like time your breaks and your food breaks and everything in just a perfect way, so that you don't take too much time. So I did actually do one thing for to make it easier for myself. मैंने ऐसे 2 practice tests दिए थे घर पे.
Okay.
Like exactly simulating the exam conditions. There are practice tests that you can buy, which are made by the same people who set the USMLE exam.
Okay.
So they're pretty close to the actual exam in terms of the interface also.
Right.
So I set it up on my computer. I sat at the exact time that I was going to take my exam. एकदम real जैसे. I took my water, my snacks, whatever I was going to do that day, I did the exact same thing and sat and practiced. And I did it twice, like a couple of weeks before the exam.
Okay, so you were very, you knew what you had to do.
हाँ. पहली बार करते हो तो वो apprehension रहता है ना कि कैसे करोगे, but 2 बार कर लिया तो you can do it the 3rd time.
Right. Definitely.
So I think anybody who's even appearing for NEET would agree that
giving grand test is the way to go.
Yes.
So that is what you did in the end. You can't give 8-hour long grand test every week.
No.
You can't. It's not possible. Because even when I do grand test, what you said, pehla question, aakhri question. So in Marrow there are like 200 questions की grand test होती है. So when we reach 165, I'm like, और 35 बाकी है भाई.
तो उल्टा काउंट करने लग जाता है.
उल्टा एंड देन वी आर लाइक फट से मार्क कर दे जो भी आ रहा है, लेट्स गो, बिकॉज अब बहुत हो गया. बिकॉज यार उतना अपना फोकस लास्ट नहीं करता. वी आर नॉट, आई डोंट थिंक आई एम बिल्ड फॉर दैट.
Nobody is built for that. I think you just have to like program yourself कि
it can be done, but we are not very used to it.
Yes.
Is what
it is not an inherent thing.
Okay.
I think we also have like very little attention span with like whatever's going on these days.
Correct. So now that you have done your step one, you took definitely must have taken quite a lot of amount to just relax, chill out.
Yes.
And after that, you applied for electives.
So I'd like to correct you here.
Okay.
I applied for electives way before giving
Acha,
step one.
acha.
So around 1.5 years ago.
Okay.
Because electives are super competitive. Okay, like everybody wants to go and do those hands-on clinical experience in the US. The spots are very limited. So you have to be very smart about applying to them. You can't decide ki, okay, tomorrow I want to go for the elective, so today I'll apply.
Okay.
I planned this way ahead that I want to go after my internship, like towards the end of my internship. So towards that step one लेके जाना है, तो I applied 1.5 years ago.
Okay.
A lot of rejections came. Was not easy. Like every day I would wake up, see these emails, and like, okay, sorry, our spots are filled. It was also during COVID, so not a lot of hospitals had opened up their doors for international students. And I think that was a very big barrier, and that also discourages a lot of people from applying.
Right.
Because you apply to 10 places and get back 9 rejections. Not
it's
fun.
very disheartening.
So, but I still applied pretty soon, and I had in mind ki, okay, I am giving my exam in May. So I picked my elective towards July.
Okay.
I had a good 1 month for to have fun. I went to Scotland with my childhood best friend.
Okay. Okay.
Took a nice trip, stayed in hostels.
Wow.
एकदम chill.
बहुत
And then I went to the US.
Okay.
उसके बाद for my experience.
Okay, so what was your experience like? Which city did you go to, and was it what you were expecting it to be?
A little bit of everything, I would say. Because it is such a new system. And I think being from GMC, you're not exposed to
Not at all.
this culture. So, पहली चीज is culture shock.
Okay.
I'm sure, like, I had traveled a little bit. So, it's not the culture shock of the new country, but how the healthcare system works.
Acha.
And the moment I set foot, imposter syndrome like kicked in. And I generally am a pretty confident person. I'm like, ठीक है, कर ही लेंगे. But I still remember the first day I went in for my orientation. I'm like, what have I gotten myself into? Because I met all these people from like all over the world, and they had done like all these amazing things, like my age. Yeah, like they were not older, but just like I have this and that, and I've worked here, I've volunteered here, I like went to this country for in healthcare, and I'm like, and they're like, yeah, I've been doing this in the US for the past 6 months, and I'm like. So that was my initial thought, but then I'm like, ठीक है, अब तो आ गए, अब तो करना ही है. So once that sort of started fading in, took a little bit of time to get used to, obviously. But then at the end, I think it was exactly how I imagined it.
Okay.
And that reinforced my, this feeling that, okay, I am on the right track. And this is the right fit for me. Like, I belong here.
Okay. Which city did you go to, and how was the experience of living in that city apart from just working?
Okay, so I went to Chicago, Illinois. A pretty big city. Also, this was my first time living away from home.
Okay.
I grew up in my house. I took MBBS. I lived at home. So this was my first big experience living by myself.
Yeah.
So I think that was another layer. But then I was pretty excited for it.
Definitely.
Like
this is
living on my own in a big city. So it was extremely nice. I lived in a hostel for the first time. I made a bunch of friends in my dorm. ऐसे हम रात में बैठ के पाव भाजी बना रहे हैं और शाम की 5 बजे की चाय would all have together. So that was pretty fun. And on the weekends, and it was the summer, so the weather was pretty nice. And they had all these like events and fests and fairs happening. So I would look up, हर weekend पे I would try to explore a new neighborhood.
Okay.
Ki, what's there, like what's happening this weekend. And I would go there and I'd just go there by myself. If there was somebody to accompany me, ठीक है.
Okay.
But if there was not, then I think that experience also taught me to enjoy my company a little bit more.
Definitely.
And I think you've done a solo trip, so you...
I exactly feel you, whatever you said, imposter syndrome kicks in. And then we like slowly start accepting, okay, this is the thing. And then finally when we get to see the places alone for the first time, it's a very different feeling. Because तुम किसी के साथ में हो तो you don't get to experience what that place is about. When you're alone, you actually, the only thing you have is that place with you. So you understand it better, I would say.
Yeah. So I had like the time of my life there. I went to I did all these new things. I made a bunch of friends. did night outs with them, and still woke up the next day to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Balance.
Definitely.
So fun experience. I would say.
Okay. So then you came back to India, and with all those memories and all that experience, you were like, okay, let's do step 2 now. And if I'm not wrong, you secured the marks like 265 in
Yes.
step 2. So for people who are not aware, a 265 is like 250 is considered as a very, very, very good rank, marks I would say. And then beyond 260 is superb. So you can get into Ivy League colleges and universities by just being above 250. And you can get into almost any specialty with that high of a score. And then here is ma'am, she has scored 265. It's equivalent like somebody has scored single digit, double digit in NEET PG. So I want to know, how did you prepare for step 2? And like what was your journey?
By the time I was giving step 2, I had given too many exams in life.
अच्छा.
इतने एग्जाम्स देखे हो गए थे कि अब समझने लगा था कि पढ़ाई कैसी होनी चाहिए. So that was a very good discovery for me, I would say. Like internally, ki, I had discovered finally ki what works the best for me.
Okay.
And again, step 2 works on this one main resource called UWorld.
Okay.
The same question bank that we use for step 1. There's no specific textbook or study resource for step 2.
Right.
Because it has clinical subjects, it has like, there's no boundaries to what can be asked.
Right.
So what will you read?
Right.
The whole MBBS. So good for me that I had already had a good, firm, like fair knowledge base throughout my MBBS. So I directly...
Plus, in first step, you also did a lot of studying, right?
Yes. So I had a fair idea of how to navigate those questions.
Okay.
Because that was a very big transition in step 1, going from the way questions are asked in our context to going to questions that are asked in the USMLE context.
Okay.
मतलब सब्जेक्ट सेम रखा तो भी सवाल इतने अलग टाइप से पूछे जाते हैं कि योर ब्रेन हैज टू एडजस्ट टू इट. एंड आफ्टर स्टेप 1 एक्सपीरियंस आई वाज कॉन्फिडेंट कि आई नो हाउ टू navigate these questions. Okay, so step 2 rolled around. When I came back, I was like I was even more driven. That perfect, like now I want to just go there. I want to start my residency as soon as I can. So with that attitude, I started my step 2 preparation. Like I said, UWorld was my main resource. I also supplemented it with a couple of resources. There's an amazing podcast called Divine Intervention Podcast.
Okay.
It's a free resource.
Okay.
And I would recommend it to anybody who's like preparing for any exam.
Okay.
He is this radiology resident and he does छोटे 20 minutes episodes of these topics and he explains them in like a patient based scenario.
Okay.
And also does एक दो tidbits ऐसे little facts that are commonly asked. So I would just put them on when I'm like driving my car. सोने से पहले जब बोर हो रहा है वो सब. So that was one thing that I definitely used.
Okay.
Other than UWorld.
It's great. I'll also use that now.
Yes. Check it out. It's very nice.
Okay.
And then if you are not into listening to podcasts, I'm sure you are. But if anybody who's not, he also has this PDF notes.
Acha, okay.
So you can read also.
Okay.
So I use these 2 resources primarily. Now, how I approached step 2 prep is just like I said. For step 1, still I did a little bit of reading.
Yeah.
Towards step 2, my preparation was primarily questions.
Okay, so you have shifted to active.
Yes, I completely shifted to active learning. I had almost zero passive reading in my step 2. And it has miraculously like changed the way I thought about studying and my confidence with my knowledge. I think you'll agree with this.
Yeah, I totally agree with it.
Because I've seen your videos and I've seen that you stand by this.
I definitely do.
So
you gave your step 2 like right now, like just few months back.
Yeah, few months ago.
So how was your experience for giving step 2?
Yeah. So step 2 is 9 hours long.
9 hours long. Okay, so एक दो घंटे पढ़ रहे हैं हर बार.
वो that increase और फिर तुम सुबह जल्दी जाते हो तो that's a very long day. Surprisingly, by the time I was giving step 2, I went to Mumbai to give my step 2.
Okay.
I was surprisingly chill. Exam के एक दिन पहले I was not freaking out. I was not इसके पहले के सारे exam I'm like, oh my god, I have to just read everything that is in my notes. And even before UT, I had this.
अच्छा, you need to read everything.
Yeah, I need to read everything. This compulsive
same.
वो खत्म जब तक नहीं होता है syllabus.
Exactly. खत्म, I would say for me it's like खत्म plus एक दो revisions के बिना I am not. I remember I had my surgery, this thing, university exam. So For anybody who has given surgery, you know that surgery 1 and 2 both are so heavy. In surgery
Yeah.
1 we have orthopedics as well. So I was freaking out before my surgery paper because first revision हो गया था, second हो गया था. I'm like एक और करना ज़रूरी है वरना मेरा कुछ नहीं होगा. And there are people who are skipping. अच्छा मैंने यूरो छोड़ दिया, JIT आधा ही हुआ है, and they are coming for UT. So it's obviously it's different कि how you approach the exam.
Yes.
So I understand कि what you are saying.
Yeah, so exactly. But this exam was different for me.
Okay.
I was one day before I was very confident कि किया है मैंने. For around 6 months, I put everything aside. I'm like, because step 1 is gone, pass and fail now. So step 2 is the only objective criteria.
Right.
And this score has to be good.
Yeah.
And you cannot take USMLE. If you pass it and you have a score, you cannot take it for 7 years.
That's a big thing.
Yeah, like 7 years is a pretty long time. ऐसे नहीं कि अगले साल repeat कर लेंगे. So वो जब रहता है ना pressure, तो you automatically have to just go for it.
Yeah.
So
all or none.
Yeah, all or none. Even during my preparation, I would just add this कि again 250 plus is considered a great score. But me being me, I put up a little sticky note and with a sketch pen in like big letters wrote 260 plus and put it right in front of my study table, ekdam center mein. So when I opened my laptop every single day, that is the first thing I saw. So anytime I was just like, कि मैं अब बहुत बोर हो रहा है, इतने सवाल कर लिए सुबह से, I would like sit my screen time, like my laptop screen time would go to like 10 hours.
Okay.
I think the चश्मे का number बढ़ गया होगा. So, but then I would just look at the sticky note and be like, I am here, I want to reach there.
Definitely.
I want that score. So, ऐसे बोर होके तो नहीं चलेगा. So, that was always the goal. Now, coming to the exam day, I would say, this exam was different. I felt a different sense of confidence. And I think the studying actively definitely played a huge role in that.
Okay.
Like I knew even if I read it like 2 months ago, I knew that I had read it.
Okay.
So just a day ago, pretty chill, I went into the exam saying कि अब 9 घंटे बैठना ही है. Went in, came out, I knew it went well.
Okay.
And that was the first time in my life that I knew
exam went well.
Exam went well. क्योंकि कभी ऐसी feeling आती ही नहीं है ना कि exam अच्छा गया है.
Definitely, ऐसा बहुत rarely होता है.
हाँ. हमेशा लगता है कि
और अपन ये क्वेश्चन बेटर कर सकते थे, मैंने वो छोड़ दिया है, we could have done this better.
और फिर बाहर आने के बाद फील लाइक क्या वो पॉइंट तो रह गया, वो तो आता था, तो वो फीलिंग नहीं आई. तो इस एग्जाम के अराउंड आई वाज प्रीटी कॉन्फिडेंट.
Definitely.
And then it was just waiting for the result.
Okay. And then the result came. So what did you do after the results? पार्टी कहाँ पे की वगैरह?
पार्टी क्वेश्चन बहुत अच्छा है. So I love traveling. And I make it a point कि मैं हर एग्जाम के बाद एग्जाम के प्रिपरेशन के वक्त I have something to look forward to.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think that really gives me कि इतना ही करना है, इसके बाद there is
something for us.
Yes, there's something for us. So we planned a little family trip to Bali. It was stunning.
Bali is very beautiful.
Yeah, it is very beautiful. I made a joke that I went from playing this white noise in my laptop, waves ka, to actually experiencing waves. And then when I was hearing those waves, I'm like, oh my god, I have to do the question. And then I'm like, shit, mera conditioning ho gaya. But I went to Bali. It was really fun for like a week. I did not think of UWorld or my marks or anything.
Yeah, Bali is a very beautiful place. It is on my bucket list after NEET PG is done. I was almost about to go in internship, but फिर मैंने cancel कर दिया because मुझे लगा time नहीं रहेगा कुछ.
You have your hands pretty full with.
It is a hassle at this point, especially with content creation. But it's okay. I enjoy the process.
Yeah.
So, like you said, कि you put everything aside, right? For step 2. For me personally, like this is one way I relax by making videos and by sharing and documenting my experience. It's better than scrolling social media. It's better to be a creator than be a consumer. So that's why I haven't given up on it yet, because I view this as something which I like and not something which is like
you have to
destroying my time. Yeah.
And I think it really shows and in your videos that you genuinely like doing it. And I think even from across the screen, you can make out that the other person really enjoys this process, the authenticity shows.
Yeah, thank you so much. It really means a lot to me.
No, but I am so glad that you haven't like given up on a lot, and I think you still have you still go out with your friends and you have this thing.
Yeah.
I still had that. I love going to the gym.
Okay.
So I still did that. I took out 1 hour every single day, even
yeah.
during my preparation for those endorphins and also for my back. So I think that everybody should find little things that make them happy.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
then obviously there's friends.
Yeah.
For when you just feel like you want to shut your mind and do the most bakwas ever.
Definitely. In GMC, I got the best thing I got was friends at GMC, because I feel like a lot of medical colleges, what happens is there is unhealthy competition. मतलब मार दोगे तुम दूसरे को, इतना कंपटीशन है उस टाइप का. इन नागपुर में
मार्क्स के लिए.
हाँ वही नागपुर में we don't have that kind of atmosphere. We have very भाव type atmosphere.
Yes. I think I met the loveliest people in GMC.
Same.
Yeah.
Right from seniors, juniors to even faculties.
Yes.
I think everybody is very cooperative.
Yes, and everybody is pretty chill.
Yeah, everybody is chill. And the best part about our college, I would say, is the how they don't believe in attendance. So it allows us to do whatever we want.
Yes.
So I always say like the best thing that my college did for me with respect to my channel is just simply not being there in between
so
it.
When a lot of people ask me, a lot of people still ask me, you could have gone into KM or any other college, so why did you still choose GMC? Or do you regret it? And I don't. I'm like, absolutely not. I think I would have regretted anything else, and this was single best decision.
Same. Exactly. So taking GMC for me also was the best decision of my life. अगर वो नहीं हुआ रहता, I would have been a different college. Experiences change. Probably my channel would not have existed if I was. So it would have been a different story overall.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy that we are a part of this amazing college. And just a fun fact, 75th Jubilee for GMC is coming up very soon. So our college will be 75 years old. बहुत सारे batches निकले उसमें से. Anyways, so I want to get back to USMLE for you. And I want to ask you, okay, so you have done almost everything now. What would you recommend to somebody who is currently, let's say, final year student or intern who is looking forward to their USMLE journey?
I think anybody should start their journey with just getting to know the process the best they can.
Okay.
You won't get to know the process in a week or 2 weeks or by watching a couple of videos. It takes a whole lot of time externally also to get to know the process, and internally also to understand what you really want. Because ultimately it's not a one size fits all decision. Right? You have to be okay with giving up a lot of things to get a lot of things.
Definitely.
And that fit should just it should click.
Yeah.
So I think that would be my first advice, ki get to know the process well. The second thing is ki once you've made the decision, I think you have to respect your decision a little bit. That obviously if it's not a very common path, so people are going to question your path a little bit. Like why? So you just have to have that faith in yourself that hey, I chose this for myself and I think this is the right thing for me. And for me, the single best thing that I just did subconsciously was I didn't have any plan B.
So that way you have to succeed, otherwise it is a big problem.
Yeah, I did not feel fill up the NEET form.
So
Very
this
risky.
is the ultimate flex कि I have prepared for USMLE. मैं NEET का फॉर्म ही नहीं भरूंगी. It's like it reminds me of something कि अगर मेरी शादी उससे नहीं करोगे तो मैं किसी और से नहीं करूँगा.
तो अब बस अभी तो बोल दिया है हाँ, तो उसी तरफ जाना है. USMLE को ही हाँ बोला है, तो नीट का फॉर्म भी नहीं भरा. माई पेरेंट्स आर प्रिटी वरिड ऑन अच्छा फॉर्म तो भर दो बेटा, देखेंगे ना, गेट गुड मार्क्स. आई एम नो, इफ यू हैव दैट बैकअप
you won't do.
Yeah, you won't do it that well. So once I decided on it, I was pretty firm कि this is the direction I'm going in, and I planned everything around it.
Right.
Every single thing was planned around my timeline. And एक बार once I got to know, once I decided on it, I planned my timeline. I think I would still have a piece of paper or a PDF that I have written कि इस दिन इस महीने में this should be my goal, this should be my goal. तो वैसे एक जर्नी प्लान हो जाए ना, तो तुम बाकी चीजें फिर उसके अराउंड स्ट्रक्चर कर सकते हो.
Very good point. For NEET PG, this is the first thing that I did. Like the very first thing was I saw which postings I have and I delegated the days and the कि इस posting में इतना time ही मिलेगा, so I'm going to be doing this subject during this month. I understood कि when it was heavy posting, like I had surgery 4-week posting, unit 1, so I did not get any time, add days and rotads and बहुत कुछ था. So that I only kept 2 subjects for that, but I was like ये 2 ही subject कर भाई please अच्छे से कर लो, उसमें से एक surgery था. So I ended up doing that. Both of them subjects are now like my GT में my top subjects. So that is the thing कि which you said कि if you have no plan, if you don't control time by yourself, you are a slave to it. So plan whatever you want to do beforehand and then adjust everything according to your priority list. So I also do that.
Yeah, like I firmly believe in planning. I think but I am a very old school planner. I'm getting used to like Notion and everything. But I still have a diary where I plan every single day.
Yeah.
And then I have these like monthly plan. Okay, like today this was assigned to this. So I knew that today second half I'm going to do this. First half I've completed whatever was on my USMLE side.
Okay.
So I think having any sort of a plan really helps put everything together. It makes you less anxious also, I feel.
हाँ, it does, and you can see कि okay हो जाएगा भाई, तुम इतना टेंशन
in due time
एक
दिन में तो कुछ नहीं होने वाला है.
Right.
So another thing I would say is once you've like decided on your journey, have your timeline in place, is to start building your CV early on.
Okay.
I felt a little bit like I could have planned better in my journey, but like if, to anybody who's watching this, plan building your CV also.
Okay.
When you start, even if you are in first year, and there's a remote chance that you will do USMLE or maybe you will not do USMLE, but have these other things to you as well. It's not just marks. So USMLE is more than marks. Marks are important, but they are just one thing.
They're not like absolutely guaranteed.
Yes. And I think that is where it differs a lot from NEET, where in NEET, if you have this rank, you're going to get this college.
Exactly. With 0 skill, you can enter the best residency possible.
Yes.
With 0 skills. You can skip entire internship. You can study for 1 entire year. You will get topmost all India rank. You will enter topmost college and then you will be like, अरे इतना काम है क्या?
अच्छा ऐसा होता है.
So that is the thing which I totally agree. NEET is that flawed.
Yeah. So like it allows you to build on your other skills as well. थोड़ा research कर लो. You know, it doesn't have to be a lot. Like write a case report. Just approach a professor and say, you know, if you see an interesting case, sir, can I write it up? And maybe the first one won't get published, but at least you acquire that skill, right? You want to upskill yourself. And MBBS is like 5.5 years long. So it's a good enough time to get those other skills. So like research, then you should volunteer. I think our college also gives us a lot of opportunity to do that.
Yeah, it does. So like I just want to know what was the rough estimated cost for your entire 2-year journey for all exams, USA, back and forth.
Okay, so it is extremely variable, I would say. It is very subjective also on how much you spend. There are a few fixed costs like the exams, the traveling, then the stay and everything. You can definitely cut down. Like I stayed in student housing and like shared my apartment with a few people because I wanted to save that little bit of money. because
जहाँ बचता
है बचाना ही चाहिए. So doing that, I saved a little bit of money, but then it is a pretty expensive process, I would say, and it costs around $20,000 to $25,000.
Yeah, 20 to 25. That is the estimate which I had received from so many people. 20 to 20. Some people say that below $30,000 it is very difficult. So it varies, like you said.
Yeah, it is pretty variable. And again, if you plan it, you can do it in much lesser.
Yeah. Okay, so planning your finances is a very big part.
Yes, very big.
But then again, if you go to residency, you will make that easily.
Yes, so I'll just...
in the first 6 months only, you will be making more than that.
Easily, I'll tell you. So whenever I consider that as an investment in myself. I am investing in getting those skills and getting that residency spot. Once you join residency, it's a proper job. They pay you a decent like $4,000-5,000 a month.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And you don't... and it's not that expensive to live as a student. So if you plan it well, I think you can pay it back in less than a year.
Yeah, you can pay. So that's the biggest thing. If you get there, then it all doesn't matter to you. Because you will make it really fast.
Yes.
Before the first year ends, you will have made much more than double of that. So yeah, definitely agree with this point. So talking more about residency, where do you want to go, and just like what branch do you want to pursue? How many years is gonna take?
So
And
I want to do internal medicine.
okay,
It has always been my dream branch. I went into GMC with a litman in my hand.
Okay.
That this is my calling. I like internal medicine. So that hasn't changed. I was really hoping, that like being exposed to, other branches would change my perspective. But it has,
it has not. It has just strengthened that the medicine is for you.
This is my calling. This is what I'm going to do. So medicine, like in India, it's 3 years, right? In US also it's 3 years.
3 years, okay.
So 3 years of internal medicine residency, and then you can do your fellowship.
Okay.
It's called fellowship, but like DM equivalent.
Okay.
So that ranges from like 1 year to 3 years.
Okay.
So cardiology, gastro, all these branches are 3 years after MD, and then endocrinology, nephrology, all these are like 2 years.
Okay.
So pretty like comparable to India in
India
terms
itself.
of time and how much time it takes. Basically.
Yeah. But with respect to other things, I think the US system is much more superior. No, you can say it upfront. I don't mind because as I am part of the system, right? I know what it is like to work in a medicine ward and what all our junior residents are doing, and I don't think like that is the culture which is present over there in USA.
Yeah, there definitely is. There are definitely a lot of differences, and because I work firsthand there and I have worked firsthand here, I think I have a fair idea of how
Both
they
systems
differ.
work.
Yeah. The best thing that I found over there about their system was their electronic medical record system. It is extremely convenient, not only for doctors but also for patient care, I feel. Because as soon as a new patient comes in, you can just see all of their medical history on a computer screen. Like you could go 10 years back and for example, I rotated in nephrology.
Okay.
So I could see their creatinine trends over 10 years.
Over 10 years?
Yes. So whatever the records that they had a value. And I could arrange it in the form of a graph.
Okay.
And I could just look, okay, the creat went up here. So is he having an AKI? Is his CKD decompensating? Just things like that. And it was such a nice thing, in especially for imaging.
Yeah.
If you're seeing an X-ray and you want to compare it to the previous X-ray, you could just split the screen and look at 2 X-rays.
Okay.
How cool.
That is so cool.
Yeah. And even the notes, you would just put in, like I would just type in my notes and a consultant would approve them. So that system I felt worked so well, both for the patients and even if they're going to a separate doctor,
they still have their medical
Yes,
record
we can just send over the medical record with the detailed notes from what I feel as a doctor or what anybody feels. So I think that worked very, very well. Another thing that I felt was really nice there was the hierarchy that we have in our system.
Okay.
And I know that since you worked here, you know how...
I know exactly how it works.
Yeah. And I know that you've talked about this and you exactly know कि वो कैसा लगता है. So यहाँ पे like spending 5.5 years in that system, you get used to it.
Yeah.
And I went there and it was like it was not pronounced. And I suddenly went there and it was gone. First of all, you just call everybody by their first name. And I had my consultants like hold the door for me when I'm leaving and like offering me like cookies. I'm like, oh, I thought you were hungry. I thought, did you eat anything today? I went into the hospital at like 5:30 a.m. every day, okay? Because I wanted to see all those patients before anybody else saw them. So my consultants would be so sweet. They would, before the rounds, like, did you eat anything? Did you have breakfast? And these nice things, and all the residents and the fellows that I worked with, extremely nice. Like, because I was so new, again that apprehension comes, right? To like, hey, like never has it happened that I asked, like, hey, how do I use this? And especially for the EMR system, I'm like, I don't know how to access this, or I don't know how to call a patient or send a consult. But they were extremely nice, and they're like, okay, wait, let me show you. And ऐसे हाथ पकड़ के सिखाने जैसे, पूरे मुझे बताया. So coming out of it, I felt so confident, but also so grateful on how gracious they were. And that is, then I thought to myself, okay, this is exactly the kind of senior that I want to be. Exactly.
इधर तो मतलब it is the JR3 will not really help the JR1. They will rely on the JR2. So here the hierarchy system is the biggest issue, I guess.
Yeah.
And the toxicity also spreads through the hierarchy system itself. तो उधर लोग इतने अच्छे होते हैं. Especially with the fellow healthcare workers, I think everybody understands what everybody is going through rather than feeling कि अभी मैं top पे आ गया हूँ, so I will dominate the person.
They sort of be like, hey, I was in your place a few years ago. I know how this feels. I know the first time I went in talk to a patient, especially like I was an international medical student for them. So the doctor, the attending that I worked with, she was also like she was not from the US, and she was so empathetic. You know, like, hey, I know how it is. So just somebody saying that means so much at that stage.
Right.
Maybe it's not a big thing.
For sure. So that was your entire USMLE journey. I really hope that this episode brought some new things to you and cleared some of your doubts which you may have had. Thank you so much, ma'am, for coming here
you for
and
having me.
helping us all out with our journey.
I really hope that for anybody who's considering USMLE, this serves as, like maybe, hey, like, is this a good thing for me? And I'm here to say that it is definitely doable. It seems like so far-fetched when you look at it from like a different perspective. But just knowing enough, and maybe I hope that this sparks a conversation in between you, and it leads you to pursuing PG in the US.
Yeah, great. So thank you so much, and maybe we'll do an episode in the future when you have done your residency or when you're back sometime in between. And I'm really looking forward to it. This conversation was so amazing. It was like we had an amazing flow state throughout. So yes, thank you so much. She has just recently opened her own channel, so I've put the link in the description. You can go check her out. She'll be documenting her journey and previous experiences along the way. So yeah, go and subscribe to her, and if you like this, consider subscribing. It will really mean a lot to me. Thank you so much, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.